You are listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network.
من هناك لشوارزنيجر
Pegarle Ronaldinho Gaucho. Ya lo hace. Pierna derecha, directo al arco. ¡Golazo! 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 ¡Golazo!
This is Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio, your new live show about the beautiful game in all its glory, with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee. MLS, EPL, La Liga, Champions League, all is fair game. Powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us at sportspodcastingnetwork.com.
And good day, good night. Welcome to the big European preview show. Kevin Laramee joined by Duane Rollins on the phone once again. Duane, we'll get to the European preview show in just 1 second. I just wanted to confirm where Callum Ellis is going. It is Seattle. It's for a fourth-round draft pick next year. And that is a trade.
Yeah, that was the rumors yesterday, and certainly it came to fruition. Look, I mean, there's not a lot to break that down. He's probably not a regular starter in any way in Seattle. He wasn't in Montreal, so good luck to him, I guess. But scratching backs, mutual scratching of backs, is that the way to put this trade? Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, but Callum Ellis always was a professional, always very dedicated to the cause, always in a good mood, in a way that always ready to talk, always happy to be there, and a true professional in the way we think about a professional athlete. So I have to say, always truly been an honor to talk to Callum Ellis. Good luck in Seattle. You'll see the midfield is looking as congested as the Montreal midfield, but good luck to Callum Ellis, the big European preview show. Duane, later in just a few hours, starts the Premier League. France started last week. I know, right? France started last week, and then the rest of the leagues in Europe have started or are about to start. Let's start with the big one that we focus a little more because of preferences, because of the place it does take in our media landscape here in North America, the Premier League. Duane, what is the biggest, like we've talked about Neymar in La Liga, right? What is the biggest storyline before we go into what we think is going to happen, what we like to happen? What is your big storyline in this offseason?
Yeah, that's a big question. There's so many storylines in the Premier League this year. It is fascinating to me. I think this is one of the most interesting stories. I actually think the biggest storyline to me is the continuation of last year's trope, meme, whatever. What is Wenger at Arsenal? What is Arsenal going to do? Can they keep their players? Can they turn around the Sanchez's, keep them around? Can they finally reach the levels that the financial might of that club should be at? Can Wenger prove his critics wrong? To me, it continues on from May. We're still in the Wenger out era, and that to me is your biggest storyline, even though it hasn't got a lot of attention because we're all sort of fatigued by it. I still think that is the biggest storyline heading into the season, is what is going to happen. What the hell is what's going on at Arsenal?
Now, what would you like to happen in 2017, 2018? Okay, it would be easy for you to say you want City to win the whole damn thing. So I'm going to scratch that off your possible answers because it's too easy. What would you like 2017, 2018 to look like?
Well, I'd like City to win 5 trophies, but
again, it's easy.
All right. Taking that away, what would I like to see? I would like to see, if City can't win, if that is taken off the table, I would like to see another club emerge and challenge the top 6, the big 6. I would like to, and I'll even name that club. I would love to see Everton finish above Liverpool. That would make me happy. That would make me giggle. No offense to Liverpool fans out there. It's more of a solidarity with Everton fans that I say that with. Is that I think that's a club that's done a lot of interesting things in this offseason, and for them, finishing above Liverpool would be the equivalent to winning the title. And I don't even think they would necessarily take issue with that statement. They would take a lot of glee in that, and it's been a very, very long time since that has happened. So that would be something that is within the realm of feasibility that I would like to see.
Well, it's going to be tough because, well, this morning, Philippe Coutinho handed in his transfer papers. He wants to go to Barca. When the Barca call comes calling, what do you do, Duane?
When the Barca, the Benga bus just got in my head. The Barca call is calling. I don't know. Maybe I'm too delusional. Sorry. Forgive me for singing.
What do you do? Do you answer?
The transfer's calling.
So what's Philippe Coutinho? Is he gone? Is it going to be just pure finishing the paperwork?
It's hard to. Yeah, that's a good. I probably. Yeah, there's a lot of money at hand. So if he's going to request and publicly put it out there, then Liverpool really should just take the 90 million and run. There's still time in the window. That they could respend that they can reinvest that. So the smart play, even though he's a brilliant player and a key player for them, and it'd be disappointing for them to lose him, is to sell him at this point so that you do have time to reinvest and bring someone else in. And 90 million is a lot of money, and you can bring a quality player in for that. And it's like Shark Week, really. That's what the transfer window is. The bigger the shark, the more that they can eat. Liverpool's a pretty big shark, but they're not the biggest shark, and the biggest shark just came and ate one of their players, basically. So they should take the money and run right now.
I know we talked about it this a few weeks ago, but I can't believe Shark Week is still a thing. You would think that we would run out of subject to talk about sharks after just a few years of Shark Week, but no, still exists and bigger than ever, which is still the case for the transfer window, which still a few weeks left. But going back to the Premier League, one thing that I would like to see, or like you mentioned, want to see from my side, and I'll take the Chelsea win away because it'll be too easy. I want to see the concept of, even if you have money, if you have one game changer, it's not about that. It's about team. I want to continue to see with the rise of the managers, which last year it began or it continued in Premier League with one of the best managers in the entire world, or at least the biggest personalities as managers in the entire world, almost all gathered together in the Premier League. I hope the game itself continue to benefit from it. I love to see the rise of quality in the Premier League, not parity necessarily, but at least that the top teams play a quote-unquote brand of football that could be, not necessarily that it's capable of beating a La Liga team, and I'm not even comparing league. I don't care. I just at least want to see like positive football. And I think that's what we have seen last year and looking at Chelsea. And I hope we continue to see this year with the signings, with the offseason and how teams got better. I have a sense that it's not about the individuals. It's about the team. And I'm kind of intrigued to see how will look like if that concept is you go with it.
No, I hear you. And look, while you were saying that, I'm thinking in my head of the amount of teams in the Premier League that I'm interested to see for non sort of sociological reasons, like Huddersfield, some teams like that. I'm curious to watch just because I'm sort of curious about the community and the team and the club and all those sort of things. But in terms of just pure football, off the top of my head, I can think of 7 or 8 teams that I'm really intrigued to watch play this year. Beyond the big 6, which are obvious and always entertaining to watch. You talk about clubs like Everton, which I've spoken about already. West Ham, I think, is really interesting. They could go one way or the other with this year. Leicester, obviously, not really in that big 6, but certainly the champions 2 years ago. You're curious, or is there a fascinating team as well? That could have been an easy answer off the top that I gave you there, as well, because they had such a poor season last year defending that championship and the drama with the manager change and all that sort of thing. So we're going to be curious to see whether they can get back to somewhere close to the form that they had. And today's matchup, Arsenal-Leicester, is an absolute great one off the hop, I think, because there is a lot of questions with both of those clubs. And we'll see if 3 points can be gathered by either today. You can keep going down from there. Like even clubs like Stoke are kind of changing their reputation and trying to play a different, more positive style of football. And it's fascinating to see what they can do with that. And then you look at the teams that they went up. So go ahead. I
was going to say, I just want to mention to our listeners, if you are new to the show, if you don't know what Duane and I mean by we're saying positive football, not that defending is negative. It's nothing to do with how we perceive it. Positive or negative in the term of football means either more going forward with the ball and not necessarily letting the other team dictate what happens. And that's kind of what we mean. Not that we don't like defending, has nothing to do with our views on it. But when we mean positive football, it means a little more geared toward the attack, basically.
No, there's all kinds of ways to play this beautiful game, and there is no right way. And I think that's a mistake a lot of us make constantly, as we think, back 5 years ago, tiki-taka had to play that way. That was the only right way to play, and then every club in the world tried to emulate them, even though only one and a half, two clubs in the world could do it the way they do it. And right now, my club, City, is trying to emulate them again because, well, Pep's the manager and et cetera. But it didn't really work fully last year. You have to adjust to your times and whatever and all that sort of stuff. So that's the great thing about this game is there's so many different ways to play it, and defending is not necessarily bad. I think Leicester, in many ways, when they won the title, they did it through great defending and clinical counterattacks, and that's an interesting way to do it as well.
And just to touch on Leicester, I'm still surprised that Mahrez and Vardy are still with the team. And let me explain myself. The value they had was never going to be higher than after the winning season a year ago. Like exactly a year ago, before they started the bad year they had that cost Ranieri's job, their value was at the highest. And if you're a club like Leicester, yes, you made money winning the champions, the league. You made money participating in the Champions League, but you still want to make more money off of your run. And selling a Mahrez and Vardy kind of goes into that aspect where you profit off the increased value that your run gave those players. And you can go on from there and replicate this down the road because you can get two of those players with the amount of money you would make off of their value. And I'm kind of surprised that they're still with the club. There's still some rumors that some clubs are trying to trigger Mahrez clause by giving 40 to 50 million euro to Leicester. And I wouldn't be surprised if maybe in the next few weeks, while the window is still open for like a week and a half or so, if it does happen. But if you're Leicester, Duane, do you go and keep those players thinking, oh, we got a shot once again at it, or you trying to monetize your league?
I think that if you're Leicester, you probably try and get back into that top four. You probably believe you can get top four. I don't necessarily agree with that, but they probably believe they can go back and get another Champions League spot again. They are only 2 years removed from a championship, 1 year really, but two seasons. This is the second season since. So I suspect that they believe that they still have what it takes. And look, they're not poor. This idea of Leicester as this poor sort of underdog is ridiculous. They're a very wealthy club in terms of their ownership. So they don't need the money necessarily, but everyone likes money. So I'm sure that if the stuff starts to go south, the January window could be very interesting. Leicester for sure, as long as those guys are performing at a level close to where they were 2 years ago, 2 seasons ago. So they're a fascinating club as well, as I said.
All right. What don't you want to happen in 2017-18 then? How about United winning the league out of the equation? Because that's kind of easy too.
United not getting relegated? Is that a fair answer? No,
what you don't want. Okay, so negative and a negative. That means okay, fine. But no, it's interesting though, because United is one of the teams that I'm excited to watch, but I'm a little worried. Maybe just similar to last year when we went to a season with acquisition that were questionable. And yeah, Zlatan turned out to be very, very prolific with United, more than we would have expected. Will Lukaku be the same type of acquisition? That's where maybe you'll be the similar type and you will succeed and be prolific. First glance we saw of him in preseason didn't really quite look like it's going to pan out, but it's preseason. It'll be interesting to see how Lukaku fares tomorrow.
Fair enough. Yeah, and look, that is, probably their key move in that actually as well. There's some interesting plays there. I went off on them a couple of days ago, and maybe since that I sort of took a step back and took a deep breath and looked at them a little bit less blue and said, okay, maybe they could do some things. I'm still not convinced, but what have you. To answer your question directly though, Kevin, the thing that I'm not looking forward to is another 1 team title race that is decided basically in November. And hopefully we have intrigue at the top for the entire season, because last year was really, obviously we enjoyed each individual games and there were moments in there, but in terms of an overall drama and overall narrative for the year, it was not a great year. Chelsea ran away with it. The relegation spots were essentially figured out by about April. There wasn't much going on to watch in that last weekend. And I really hope that this year, when we're talking on this show on May 13th, and we're getting excited about the World Cup, but we still have a little bit more time to go, we'll be looking
It's
at
prediction
3 or
time, isn't
4
it? With less than a week to
that
go
are
until the
maybe
start
still
of
in
the
it or battling for something on that final weekend, maybe even 5 or 6 teams when they're looking about the top and the bottom. I really hope there are races this year and we don't replicate last year when it was really Chelsea, Arsenal drama, and not a lot else.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the league was decided, like you mentioned, early on, but sometimes teams got kind of close, so we were getting excited that we might be excited about a title race. So that's when it's decided, when you're getting excited about getting excited.
At one point, I remember City got it down to 9. And I was like doing math in my head about how they were going to catch the 9 points up. That's how ridiculous last year was. Obviously, Spurs, I think, got to within 5 at one point, relatively late. But those were the numbers we were talking about, 5, 9. It was never really in question, and we called it. I believe if you go back in our archives about November, my birthday. November 11th is my birthday. If anyone wants to buy me anything, feel free. But yeah, it was about my birthday when we were calling the race last year.
Now, let's look at our top 6 prediction. We're not going to go 20 deep, but we can go 6 deep. Let's start with 6. Who's just outside of Europe?
Europa League spot. I am going to go with at number 6. I'm gonna go with Everton. I just have this hunch that Everton's going to do something this year, so I'm going to go with Everton at 6.
I'm going to go with what might be surprising, but if you're looking at the trends, I think it's going to be difficult for Tottenham. I put Tottenham at number 6.
Yeah, that's interesting, especially with I think the biggest storyline with Tottenham is how they play those games at Wembley and whether they can adjust to that. Look, if they can adjust to that, I think that's going to benefit them moving forward, but I have some doubts there. So I'm going to put them higher on my list. Spoiler alert, I don't have them 7th or lower, but I do see where you're going with that. All right, why don't you start this one? What do you have at 5?
At 5, a little bit surprising, but not really when you look at things. Liverpool, with the loss of Philippe Coutinho looming, it's going to be a little difficult for the Reds, and Liverpool will be 5th this year.
Fair enough. Look, they, as I said, they're going to need to spend that money. I think it is the way that they can fix that. But Liverpool is a club that is very difficult to handicap sometimes, and there's so much history with them that I think that a lot of people tend to overvalue them. But look, they've surprised us in the past. They surprised us in 2014 with nearly winning that title. Can they do that again? I don't think they're going to the top. Can they drop completely out of the top 6, 7? Can they even finish mid-table? Well, we've seen that too. So they're a fascinating squad as well. Okay. I think my number 5, I'm going to pick Manchester United as my 5th place team. And maybe I'm being a little bit biased there, but I'm not completely convinced. I think they're going to finish just outside of the Champions League spots this year. They're going to have to obviously balance Champions League positions. Maybe even they drop back to the Europa League and qualify again that way. Who knows? That seems like a very Mourinho kind of thing. So okay, that's my prediction. That's my first bold prediction. United fails in the group stage, falls back into the Europa League, and wins the damn thing again because they're like the plague sometimes. United is, so you can't get rid of them. They're going to kill you eventually.
United is the new Sevilla. That's what you're saying.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Not sure whether they'd be happy with that. All right, we'll continue to snake this.
That's the point. That's the sarcasm point right here. All right, my number 4. Yeah. 4th. Duane, come on. You're asking me who's going to be 4th. You know, everybody knows. Everyone knows who's going to be 4th. It's Arsenal again.
Has anyone made them a trophy yet? Like, I mean, come on. Someone out there has enough money and time in their hands to make a big fourth place, like literally says F, like 4TH, and then it's on a gold base, and they go from there. So, yeah.
Just a big four. Just a big four in gold on a wooden base. Come on, that's enough. But yeah, my prediction, and it's not just a joke, it's where I think they will finish. But the Arsenal the way to go. Finish fourth. Get into the Champions League. Make money. Don't spend as much. Be happy.
Don't worry. Yeah. Look, yeah, never a bad prediction to pick or Arsenal for fourth place. And I'll be happy with that because they're back in the Champions League if that's the case. So we'll see. I'll be very curious to watch what they do in the Europa League. I said last year, actually, when it was clear that they were going to finish in the Europa League spot, I said, I tweeted it out that there was literally no excuse for them not win that competition, but they'll find one. Don't worry. I suspect. So let me ask you that. How do you think Arsenal is going to take the Europa League this year?
I don't know. It depends. We can look at the situation and see if we can win the competition. And if we win the competition, maybe we can go back to the PS League. It's a way of deciding if I can stay 2 years and if we want to do it. But it's interesting. With Arsenal, I think we can win the competition.
The Kevin Laramee, the French guy, just doing the French accent there. You do better than me, so there you go.
That was my Arsene Wenger impression. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you were doing the Wenger. You were doing the Wenger imitation. I'm gonna default to you on that one, but yes, there you go. All right, that's I'll go with my four now. Look, sorry, Kevin. I'm gonna go Chelsea fourth, and there seemed to not be a lot of addition there so far. Conte is a brilliant manager, and he could completely put egg on my face here. But Chelsea has a history lately of kind of going up, down, up, down, up, down in context. And I think maybe there are some more money out there and a little bit, the clubs that I'm going to pick above have a little bit more going on. So I'm going to put Chelsea at fourth, but it's going to be, they're a competitive fourth, and anyone in my top four could legitimately win the title, I think.
All right. I'll take it. We'll see where I put Chelsea. It's coming later on. My third spot, my prediction for third, it's United. I feel we'll be surprised by their competitiveness. Still not enough to beat my top two predictions, but I feel United will show some results. Lukaku, is it an upgrade over Zlatan? Yeah. Zlatan might even come back down the road when he's ready. So you do have that option. I think United, it's a continuation of the Jose Mourinho project. Usually year two is a successful year. Then he gets canned after the third one or during the third one. That's a 3-year plan, the famous Mourinho 3-year plan. And I think it's year two. Usually we get success trophies sometimes, but in Champions League, in the Premier League, it's going to be difficult. So I feel third for United will be a successful campaign.
It would be. I think that'd be something that can build on. Look, I'm scared of United. I picked them lower in this. Speaking candidly as a City fan right now, I could see them even winning the title. I don't think they're going to. I wouldn't put money on it, but I could see it happening because that's just what Mourinho does, right? Like, he is a brilliant manager and he figures out how to do it. It's not going to be pretty. United, I don't think it's going to be an entertaining team to watch this year or ever under Mourinho. And, United fans have to ask themselves whether they're happy with that. In the past, they might not have been, but certainly United is intriguing as well. And look, we'll see how this plays out. But this season has a lot of intrigue in terms of all of these clubs and where they're going to finish. So I'm looking forward to seeing it play out. All right. My third pick, Kevin, is going to be Spurs. I think Spurs has enough that they're going to figure it out, but I do actually anticipate that they're going to struggle a little bit off of the top of the season because they're going to have to adjust to the new surroundings at Wembley. And this is going to go down in history, I believe, for Tottenham fans. They're going to look back at this 3 or 4 year stretch even and going to shake their head and just kind of laugh and say that's so Spursy, because it is a brilliant team. There's a lot of success there, but I just don't see them winning the title. And maybe that the history coming out, there is a lot of history to point to that says that they're not going to win the title. But I think that they're going to look back and shake their head. I have a good friend who's a Spurs fan, and he will occasionally, if you get a few beers in him, will go on like a 20-minute rant about Leicester because that was their year. and that was their opportunity. And they just shake their head and said, look, if we couldn't, we had our perfect season and we lost a blank Leicester, we're never going to win. And that's kind of how Spurs fans feel. And I feel for them. If I wasn't a City fan, I'd probably be a Spurs fan. That's kind of how my personality goes. So not that I wish them no will, but I think they're going to finish theirs.
All right, fair enough. And it is going to be an interesting season for many reasons for Tottenham, and we'll be keeping an eye on them on the show because of the Wembley situation, the new White Hart Lane. We'll keep an eye on stadiums. It's always interesting to me to see the new stadia, the new creation of a culture around a building being erected. It really brings the entire thing together, I feel, and I'll keep an eye on the new White Hart Lane across the new the few months ahead. You don't get to see this every day, right? You don't get to see the building of a stadium every day, and it is always interesting to see a new, pretty much holy ground for us football fans. Speaking of football fan, Duane, I'm going to pick my second choice, my runner-up for the league title in the Premier League 2017-2018, and I'm sorry to disappoint you, but my runner-up is Manchester City. Close. Going to be very close, but not close enough.
Fair enough. I think City will win silverware this year, and I'm going to get to them in a second here, so don't you worry. But I do believe that they will win silverware. In fact, I'll be bold and say that they go deep in the Champions League as well. I think that is ultimately Pep's, marching orders is deep in the Champions League more than it is the league. In many ways, not that they don't value the league, but that's happened. I think Champions League success is more important to the ownership now, though. So I do think, and I do anticipate that they will. I'll say it right now. I'm going to throw into it. I'm picking City second too. So maybe that's a little bit of me being cautious about my club. I don't know, but I do. I see them in second, and I see them winning probably the League Cup, maybe even the FA Cup. I think they have enough depth in that squad that they should be winning one of those two. I think City should win the League Cup every year. There's so much depth, and they've taken it seriously in the past that there's really no excuse. They've landed on United in the second round draw, well, not the second round, the fourth round draw last year, and lost that game with a very rotational squad. But if they had won that, I think if they'd beaten United that day, I think they'd go on to win the League Cup. So if you get luck in the draw, there's no real excuse for them not at least in the final there, and certainly the same goes to the FA Cup, and I think they'll go deep in the Champions League. But I'm ultimately picking them second as well, Kevin. So that leads us into, and I think I know your answer, but tell me why Chelsea's winning the title, Kevin.
Because it's about the team, not individuals. Because it's about how the team is built to implement the coach's vision. When a coach like Antonio Conte came last year, he was expecting a difficult year. And it was difficult, but he was able to find a starting 11 that was able to stay together a long time and create results and go with it and change the formation. And once he changed it a few, 5 weeks in, everything was different. 3 weeks in, everything was different since then, and they barely lost any matches after that. This year, Conte is actually expecting an even tougher year. And if you're looking at the fixtures list, you do have a lot of Champions League and games that were not congested the fixture list last year present. But you have a different type of roster built too. Built not about individuals, not about distractions, but about players who wants to play. The players that were fringe, Loftus-Cheeks of this world have been loaned out. So that distraction won't necessarily be there this year, like last year, where the options he had off the bench were not necessarily to his liking. With the Moratas of this world now, he does have a little bit more weapons available for him to be effective on the pitch. And I do feel he's going to have a 15, 16 starting players that he's going to juggle with that will make it a little easier for him to manage all those fixtures and able to prioritize the league. Because I think the win of the Champions League in 2012 for Chelsea is a great moment. Playing in the Premier League in 2017, 2018 is such a difficult league to win now. One slip up could be enough to lose the whole damn thing. And I think Chelsea will prioritize the league once again. And I do feel they want to be one of the few teams that can actually repeat since the beginning of the Premier League in the mid-90s. So I do feel that Chelsea will prioritize the league and will get it done.
Look, it's not a bad shout. And obviously, I picked them fourth a minute ago. That has to do with just sort of me kind of being intrigued by the teams I'm picking above a little bit more, and people are going to they're going to drop their phone and laugh when I pick my title winner in the second here because, well, there's one of two teams, they're folks, and one of them I'm picking for seventh and the other I'm picking for first. So there you go.
Yeah, I was like, who's left?
Yeah.
Oh, really? All right. You go.
Yeah, okay. You want to know who I'm picking? Look, I think the trend's going to continue, that the club that can focus the most on the league is going to be the team that wins it. And I really don't want to say it out loud, but oh God, help me. I'm picking Arsenal. I'm picking Arsenal to win the league. And
I was like, really? Jeez, that's the only one left. Come on, Duane. Arsenal? Really? All right. Makes sense if you think about the trend of teams that are not playing in Europe winning the thing.
Yeah, I think they're going to punt the Europa League. I think they're going to focus on the league. I think there's just enough parity out there that the top teams are going to take points off each other. I think that they're going to figure out the Sanchez thing, and they're going to figure out the Ozil thing. They're going to keep them around. They're going to get some momentum going moving forward. And, talk about the Spurs thing a minute ago. Like, this is going to be, they're going to drive them over the edge. They're going to walk into the English Channel in it after the season because they're going to have gone 3 seasons with the most points again, probably, and have, not only not win it, but see Arsenal finally break the decade-long drought and win again. That's what I'm seeing happening here. And look, this could be completely wrong. And this is the thing about this prediction, and it's a bit of a brave one. Not brave in the sense that it's brave to make a prediction, but it's brave in the sense that it could go completely wrong. That somebody could throw this in my face in 6 months. And they could finish 8th too. But I think for the reasons I just mentioned, I think for, the stability is going to sort of it's going to stabilize. There's not going to be as much Wenger out stuff going on this year. That distraction is not going to be there. They're not going to be playing in Europe, really. I think they're going to be playing a youth team in Europe, and they're going to be concentrating in the league, and that's why I'm picking Arsenal to win the title. And I cannot believe I just said that. Oh, my God.
It's fine, Duane. If you look at our track records, it's not terrible, but it's about how usual predictions go. We're a little lower than 50-50 if I, off the top of my head, over the years with our prediction. We did predict Montreal-Toronto last year. We kind of did. But this year I predicted Montreal to go to the Eastern Conference Final. And, that's not going really well so far. So we're either hit or miss anyways.
Yeah, well, I have the trouble for TFC is when I drop the mic on that one. So I'm so far 1/3 of the way there. We'll see how, and the Supporters Shield looks okay. If I get 2 or 3, I'm claiming the victory, folks. But yeah, if Arsenal wins the title, like, as disappointed as I'll be for City perspective on the last day, I'll be like, damn right, I called it.
Called it in August. Yeah, that should be the name of a sports gambling website or something. Called it in August.
Fair enough.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a little overview of the other leagues in Europe and then our games of the week.
You are listening to Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
Soccer Today is brought to you by Passion Soccer Boutique for the love of the beautiful game. From gear to jerseys, custom jerseys, apparel, go to passionsoccer.ca. Quickly, Duane, if you go back to 2 weeks ago, what you thought that you would be so interested in week 2 of Ligue 1 as you are right now?
No, look, every year Ligue 1 is something I go say to myself every August. I'm going to watch more Ligue 1 this year, and then November rolls around and I watch 2 games. So we'll see, but certainly there's a lot of intrigue there watching PSG. So are we interested in Ligue 1 or are we interested in one club in Ligue 1? That's the question.
Or in one player in one club in Ligue 1.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's official though. Neymar received this transfer certificate, his international transfer certificate, the famous ITC, and is available to play against Guingamp this weekend. So a former League 2 team, I remember a few years ago, they went to Montreal to play the Trophée des Champions, being the champion of Ligue 2, facing the Ligue 1 champion. I think it was against Marseille back then, but I might be mistaken. But I remember it was in Montreal. and en avant Genga against Neymar, and it won't be pretty this weekend.
No, it might not be. Look, we don't have to ask. One of its great advantages back in the day. I used to watch more French football back about 5 or 6 years ago when it was. And the reason I did is because it was so competitive. Marseille and Lyon and PSG and clubs like that. They were kind of the same, so there was a little bit more intrigue. But now that PSG has pulled away and become the super club, I don't know whether it's good for the league or not. It certainly is drawing a little bit more attention, but I think paradoxically, it's going to make me watch a little bit less if they pull away and take it from. They were into. I enjoyed watching Monaco last year, and I will be actually making a point of watching them play in the next month or so. I saw them play in the Super Cup, the PSG versus Monaco in the Super Cup. I did watch that, and Monaco looked interesting to me still. So I will be curious to watch them play there. But PSG is the dominant favorite, the far away favorite this year, 100%.
It's not just Neymar though. Mbappe, speaking of Monaco, now for PSG makes a big difference too. So we're talking about a lot of items were in the shopping cart when they pressed the checkout button for PSG, and it was quite a big tab, quite a big fortune that was spent. But hopefully this brings trophy to Paris. Otherwise, it was probably not worth it.
Yeah, well, and they want the ultimate trophy there. And look, I think PSG will win the Champions League in the next 5 years. I think City's going to win the Champions League in the next 5 years as well, and I will probably die that day. So, wish me well. But, yeah, money does speak in this game, and ultimately it will play out in the end.
No, exactly. So when you're looking at the Ligue 1, Paris, 30, 40 points clear off the top, what's going to happen? You have another club like Monaco that can contend with them, even though Monaco didn't go through a fire sale, but monetize their success last year pretty much. And will they have other young players stepping up this year to take the place of an Mbappe? There's a famous meme a few weeks ago, Duane. You probably remember this. Remember Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the last episode? When Fresh Prince, Will Smith goes into the living room and looks at everything and it's all empty everywhere. He's like, what's going on? Well, that's how Falcao felt when he first got into training for Monaco. He was looking at all his teammates like, what happens? Where is everybody? Where is everybody?
Precisely. I actually think Monaco's going to struggle in a little bit. I don't think they're going to finish second. I think you might see Lyon and Marseille finish in second place in Ligue 1, and it'll probably be a 15, 20-point gap. So I don't think there's going to be much of a title race for sure.
Bundesliga, another situation where I don't even see a team close to Bayern Munich again this year. Like, we had the Leipzig story earlier on last year. That was quite a fun story, and they were contender until like midpoint, but then reality struck, and Munich after the break just dominated even more than usually. And now with the signings that they made in the offseason, who's going to stop Bayern?
Well, no one.
No one, exactly.
I think Dortmund will be. I think the more things change, the more things will stay the same. It'll be a Bayern gap, Dortmund gap, and then the rest. Leipzig will be in there. Hoffenheim will be in there. I think Berlin looks interesting this year as well. So there'll be a battle there for those last two. But by and large, it's going to be, like I said, champion, big gap, runner-up, fairly big gap, rest. Well, actually, I just named three teams there. I think there's going to be those three teams struggling for those, or for playing for those 3-4 spots, and then there's going to be another gap, and then we're going to get down to the bottom, and sort of teams are going to be slugging around to try and figure out. If you look at the standings last year, that's what it was. You had a top 5 or so, and then there was a big 20-point gap or so to the rest. So, and I don't see much changing in the Bundesliga, and I don't see much intrigue at the top.
La Liga, one of the other big leagues that we take a look at from time to time. Of course, MSN is no more. Now it'll be, how should we call it? Okay, so we have Neymar is gone, so the N is gone. So we have Messi, Suarez, and Coutinho. CSM? So how will CSM fare this year?
They're going to finish second. I think Real Madrid is going to win this league, not walking away, but sort of a bit of a cancer. They're going to win with a gap. I think they'll win with a couple weeks to spare, just like they did this year. And Yeah, Atleti's third.
Yeah.
If there's a safer prediction in all of Europe than Atletico Madrid finishing third place in La Liga, I don't know what it is.
Parlay. Put that on the parlay. But I want to talk to you about one thing, and it's something we don't always talk about, but it is the intangible. It does happen in the world of sports, sometimes for bad reasons. And the example I'm going to tell you, where I'm not necessarily the best, but you'll get where I'm going. Lance Armstrong, when he won the 5, well, yeah, he still won them anyways. Was it 7? Anyways, all those yellow jerseys.
He crossed the line first.
Yeah, those things, he crossed the line first, right? But he had an aura of invincibility. Like, even to put yourself in the same discussion as I can beat him, you look like a fool saying this because everybody knew that this guy was that much better than everybody else. Tiger Woods, late 90s, early 2000s. You were trying to tee off next to Tiger Woods. There was no chance in hell you were going to beat him on any given Sunday. And he had that aura of invincibility. Wayne Gretzky had that. Mario Lemieux had that when he was a one-on-one versus a goaltender. Pele had that. And I think the entire squad of Real Madrid right now has that. It got it from 2 years of Champions League, and it got it from great success and the Euro Championship of Ronaldo. It took a few years to build that up. But I think it's back to where it used to be 30 years ago when Madrid, or Zidane days, when Madrid was the best damn team in the whole damn world, and they knew it, and they're going to humiliate you, and they're going to make you feel like crap for playing against them. And even though you're going to feel bad for losing to them because you're going to say like, oh, I just played against royalty and I should have been nicer to them and I should have let them score even more. That's the type of aura I feel Madrid has right now. They beat teams even before stepping on the field.
No doubt. And look, we talked about this a lot down the stretch last year about whether we should start talking about this Real Madrid squad in the annals of history. Are they among the greatest teams ever? And it's always going to be a barstool conversation. Who's the greatest team ever? I did a Twitter poll where I named it 4. So I had 3 polls and then had the top winner from each plus one more that I put in there for the greatest European club team ever. And it ended up being Barca 09 was the winner based on my followers on Twitter. I think that if Real Madrid wins the Champions League again, and I'm not going to put that behind them. In fact, right now, I would be hard pressed to pinpoint any team that could beat them in the Champions League. I think that is almost more of a sure thing than La Liga, that they'll be deep in that to the semifinal or final again. If they win that 3 in a row, how can we not start calling them amongst the greatest teams ever? You're comparing them to themselves at that point, the 5 in a row in the 60s, 60 through 65. You're talking about that kind of legacy. You're talking about the best player in the world, and I think Ronaldo has surpassed Messi in terms of the best player in the world, kind of with a bit of a gap now. Even Messi needs to prove himself more. This is just a brilliant team, and I am not a Real Madrid fan at all. In fact, my loyalties lie more with the other team in that town. So, hey, you got to tip your hat though. This is a brilliant team.
To finish our European overview / preview, there's one league left, and we don't usually talk about the Italian league that much. But in the offseason, AC Milan made some big moves and decided to become the AC Milan of old. And we will see how that unfolds on the pitch this season. But Serie A has regained some of its luster in this offseason.
Yeah, they have. And I think Serie A this is the most interesting Serie A season in a while, because there is some suggestion that Juve might be getting a little long in the tooth and they might be reachable. Now, look, they're the faraway favorite. Juventus is going to be, if you're going to put money down on them, they're 1-to-1 basically in terms of your odds. They are your favorite. But Milan's spending, and they're Milan, for God's sake. They have a history there that they should be near the top, and it's been the anomaly that they haven't been in the last few years. So I do think that Milan is top 4 for sure. And in fact, yesterday on Twitter, I kind of picked them to win Serie A, which was me being a bit contrarian more than anything else. But certainly I do think they're up there.
It's funny, Duane, but it's not that long ago, though. 2011, 2012 seems so far away for AC Milan. And it's like 6 years ago, but it seems like it's been a long time.
Well,
they went so low.
Well,
pretty much, yeah. It's almost like they haven't got relegated, but that's the only thing they haven't done, pretty much. They had terrible years. The entire generation after Nesta defensively hasn't panned out. They had pretty much a fire sale, and then signing them didn't pan out, and you have the Balotelli. It wasn't pretty for AC Milan. Hopefully this time around, they get back to that glory days of the early 2010s.
No, and look, I think it'd be great if they did. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really have a Serie A team, but so much as I do, it would be Milan. I respect the history of that club. I don't necessarily respect some of the ownership that's been there, but we'll put that aside.
Yeah, of course. But hey, I'm watching Narcos right now. You never know who actually owns the team, and we would be surprised who owns who right now too. So, not saying Escobar's dead, so Escobar doesn't necessarily own a team right now, but you know where I'm going. Mexican teams, you don't know who owns them.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Rafa Marquez in this week. We probably should have, but anyway.
Yeah, we should. Will we? Oh, we'll see.
We'll see where it goes. That's just to say, like, can he become any more of a villain? I don't know. The ultimate heel. It's like amongst MLS fans, American MLS fans, is there a greater heel than Rafa Marquez? Well, I don't think so. At any rate, to go back to Serie A, look, I think that I could throw the three teams below Juve. I think are clearly Napoli, Roma, and Milan this year, and I think you can kind of throw a blanket over all three, and it's hard to sort them, and hopefully one of those three will emerge and challenge Juve at the top, because that would, I think, make Serie A great again. Make Serie A great again. Can we get hats or something? Maybe red, MCAG?
Hey, no, Duane, we should make a political. Yeah. Never mind that. We should make a political phrase out of this. I'm sure it will work.
Yes.
I'm sure it'll be successful.
I think.
I'm sure people will fall for that. Come on. It's way too transparent. People will fall for that. People will think they're serious using this, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. My final thought on the entire European season is hopefully we live to see it. Hey, anyway.
Jesus.
Good luck down there, folks.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, all right. Duane, let's just take there's nowhere to go after this, so let's take a quick break, gather our thoughts, and just talk about the upcoming games in Major League Soccer this weekend.
You are listening to SPN Radio, powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
Finish the show today, Duane. We will give our games of the week, a few games we're looking forward to. Only Saturday, because then there's a whole slate of game on Wednesday and next Friday as well. It starts tomorrow. Seattle SKC. Seattle with the newly acquired Callum Malice. Will he play? I doubt it. Well, we'll see. But Kansas City, a club that needs to maybe forget the big transaction and continue on a winning ways. And I do feel Kansas City down the road will be even a better team for that big Tom Dwyer transaction.
Yeah, look, the first two games off the hop are actually arguably the best two games of the weekend. You've got Seattle, SKC, both those teams. Seattle kind of coming around again, getting back into form, looking to replicate last season. Well, they weren't as far down as they were. And then obviously TFC Portland in the second game on the week is interesting as well, a game I'll be at. SKC is an intriguing team in the sense that by taking, how many leagues in the world outside of soccer, I don't think any, but where you see a team that is as good as SKC is, and with a clear weakness in terms of goal scoring, then turn around and give away their best goal scorer. That doesn't happen in other leagues. So what does this mean for this team down the stretch? Are they able to continue in their solid defensive play and continue to be successful that way? And so far, so good. Seattle is a great test and a great measure of that. And certainly, I think we probably both would agree if we looked at the matchups this week that this probably is the very best of the best. And I would give a nod to TFC Portland for the second one. Actually, I'm going to go all Canadian this. If I had to pick a third game, it might be the Union Impact, just for intrigue reasons. The Impact need to continue on from where they were last week.
They need to put wins together, right? It's all about momentum. It should be called the Momentum League Soccer, because that's what it's all about. And we're getting into that time of year now. If you put a few wins together, you climb up the standings, and then you're looking at being in the conversation for a playoff spot or even a home playoff date. So now it's the time
Yeah,
to do so. Because look, we're just a few days away from being mid-August. Mid-August is just a
it,
month and a half away from the playoffs, kind of.
well, yeah, 2 months,
Two
kind of,
months?
but
2 months.
it's
Fine.
the
Okay, it's a
impact of,
stretch.
God, it's so long still. God, MLS season's long.
Well, it's not the
It's
amount.
not
It's
as
the
long as the
amount.
European season, but
It's as long. It's just for some reason we don't have the holidays smack in the middle that cuts it down to 2 parts. So there's that in our
yeah,
minds, at least.
it's a grind. No, I think that if you're talking for impact, if you're an impact fan out there, I would not the playoffs. Talk about the playoffs. Yeah, roll that in your head. I don't think that you should be talking about the playoffs. I think you should just be talking about getting on a roll. If the Impact can win 3 in a row, and that's the magic number I'll give them, if they can win 3 in a row and they're on one right now, then yeah, I'm going to start talking about the playoffs with them again. But until they demonstrate that they can go on a 3 straight run, I think it's more about getting yourself into form where you can start to get points up. It's going to be a battle.
Yep.
The thing about MLS is it's very hard to catch up once you're behind because other teams are going to get points too.
Yeah.
You can't really look at any game on a schedule and go, oh yeah, that's 3 points drop for them there. No, they can reach up and grab 2, 1 or 3. So if the Impact can win 3 in a row and take care of business and start to get a momentum and get healthy, then yeah, we can talk about them as being a dark horse to make some noise late. But until that time, I don't know. And this week with the Union in front of them, it's a massive game for the Impact, a massive game.
Yeah, well, the Union is just one spot ahead. Montreal's 9th in the Eastern Conference right now with 27 points. Union is 8th with 29. You're talking about a direct opposition. Montreal's got 2 games in hand on Philadelphia. So one win right here would put Montreal at 30 above Philly, because it's not just 3 points that you win, it's 3 points that you take away from a direct competitor. Tomorrow's game, Impact Union. I know it's a familiar song now. I've been trying to sing it for a few weeks. This is a must win if Montreal wants to be in the picture, because the gap, it's there. 44, 41, and 40 points, top 3 in the Eastern Conference. There's a gap. Red Bull 35, Atlanta 35, Columbus 32. Montreal's at 27. So they want to become Orlando at 30. And for this, they need to win. And they need to win now while they still have games in hand, because you don't know if you're going to win those games in hand. But you do know if you're going to win the next game, because you're going to play the next game. So if you win the next game, 2 in a row, you're climbing the standings right once again. And that 3rd in a row, I agree with you. 3 in a row is a magic number for Montreal. They need to either do this now. If they falter tomorrow, the next 3 games need to be wins. They're going to be more home heavy still the next few weeks, so they will have the opportunity here. But if you get the job done on the road in Chester, one of the worst neighborhoods, by the way, in North America, but that's not that's not the Union's fault at all. Maybe it's a bad choice, but it does look beautiful with the bridge and the water on TV. It looks amazing.
The bridge it's a great video game backdrop, that bridge and all that.
If only it was.
In terms of the actually going.
If only it was in FIFA, it would be amazing. But yeah, it's not. But
yeah,
it would be awesome to play first-person view, just to play on that field.
I used to play back on my PS1 days. I like to play the Formula One game because it had they had a racing game and it had not Formula One but open wheel. I can't get it in my head right now. Indy, thank you. Yeah. They had an Indy game that I liked because it had Toronto on there and they had the Princess Gate, and I thought that was the best part of the game. But at any rate, moving on. Yeah, no, they need to. I'm going to call time of death on the Impact season if they aren't within 3 points of a playoff spot by the end of this month. That's where I'm at. So they need to start winning now.
And yep, that starts tomorrow as well. So against Philly, and Montreal has been successful on the road. And it goes back to Nacho Piatti after the All-Star game telling me, yeah, I feel better. I actually feel good now. We saw that Saturday. We saw the Nacho Piatti we're used to. If we continue to see this with the chemistry with Zamali, they can continue to start to get together. Zamali is a player to watch. He's been struggling since his 10-day vacation. It's a little difficult for him to get it started once again. He just came back from an Italian season, almost an entire Italian season. Coming here beginning of May, not having the 10-day break when there was a Gold Cup break. And since that, it's been a little more difficult for him to get things going. And it's kind of normal if you look at the body but if you're looking at scientifically, he went down. He's going to peak perfectly for the end of the season in the playoffs. So look for Zamali to get on a run in the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him start to be effective and start to not just score, but to create goals. And if him and Piatti get hot at the same time, Montreal, on paper, has a very interesting lineup. And we'll see how Samuel Piette does. Samuel Piette is not the savior, but it's another insurance type of player in the back in the midfield and in front of the back line to help guide and will help defensively Montreal. And we all saw what Piette could do on the national team level for the last few years. And I'm looking forward to seeing this type of intensity, that type of no quit attitude that Piette always had, that pitbull mentality. This for Montreal could be really interesting to just at least bring some competition to position, which means that people will have to fight for their playing time, which means theoretically the team itself should do better. But tomorrow, once again, when to finish on Montreal, it's a must win.
Yeah, precisely. And I guess we should wrap up with the Whitecaps as well. Is that the longest road trip in MLS? They're New England. Maybe probably Orlando from Vancouver might be the longer one, I guess. I'm trying to think distant wise.
Orlando's pretty damn far. Yeah, Orlando's for sure the furthest, but New England's pretty far. And to go in the middle of nowhere to Foxborough, it's going far for not a lot of reason. And New England, I had that conversation last week at the All-Star game while walking with other pundits close to Chicago River. And we're talking like, is there like a less identifiable club than the New England Revolution? How can you hope? Like tomorrow. Well, I don't see hope in that club. Like, things don't change. Things are staying the same. And there was some rumors here and there of a stadium and all that. We're not expecting it to happen. They're at Gillette Stadium until the end of time, probably. And it's not necessarily the look that the rest of the league is going for. It's not necessarily the type of roster management, the type of environment for the academies, the infrastructures that it has. It's not comparable to other teams in the league. And it's kind of I'm not saying this team is stuck in 2008, but I'm saying this team is stuck in 2008.
Maybe they might be stuck in 1998 even.
I was trying to be generous here.
Yeah, look, you're right. They're anonymous. They are, my former way back podcast partner and Ben Knight used to call them, rotating McDonald's franchises coming to play TFC. And I don't think that exists anymore. I think that it's changed. There are identities to clubs now, the DP rules and just changes it has allowed that. But New England has marched along the same. They are an anonymous kind of franchise. And I'm going to use that term purposely there, franchise. They haven't even been bad enough to be interesting. That's the other part about New England. There was a time maybe where they were interesting, where they were the Buffalo Bills, quote unquote, where they kept losing the final, but that's a long time off now. And they haven't even been like TFC, DC United, terrible enough to really be intriguing. They're just there and they just keep trotting along, and they haven't been great. They haven't been terrible. They're just hard to get a handle on. Whenever you're playing DC New England on the schedule, you just kind of sigh and go, okay, we got to get this over with, because they're not interesting at all. You're right.
Exactly. All right, Duane. You can always follow Duane on Twitter at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. A little shout out, Duane, before we finish the show, to Denis Shapovalov. Way to go, buddy. Way to go. Way to beat Nadal in front of your home crowd.
He's damn. And look, we're 5 rings is tough for us this week, and we keep meaning to put it out there, but we're going to get one out soon, and we will be talking tennis in it, Kevin. I'm warning you right now. That kid has a massive ceiling, probably bigger than Milos even. And I love Milos. Milos is my boy. But yeah, that kid's got something going on.
And Milos has to fight gravity with every single ounce of his being every time he exists. So tall, so big, so lengthy that it's kind of tough to have the same mobility of a Shapovalov. So Shapovalov is like a Milos. Take maybe 10 miles per hour less of a serve and put it more in 10 miles per hour of mobility. And maybe you get the type of player that needs to reach that top 3, top 4. But Milos, I have to say, it's kind of getting close.
I think Milos could win Wimbledon one day. I think that he could be Mike Weir.
Wimbledon,
he could be Canada's Mike Weir.
Yeah, because of the whole setting, the grass, and it gives him like a fraction of a second more to get to it. Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, we're previewing 5 rings, which is going to happen with a gold, silver, wood, bronze.
One day.
Gold's Bronze Wood, I should say. Probably Monday. Yeah. So
Hopefully.
we'll talk about that. And we'll get that out there. And there's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a long, beefy show. It's going to be great. And then I'm going to try and regularly get that out through into, if South Korea or the South Korea Olympics going to happen. Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, well,
lots to talk about there, Kevin. But I'm going to let you. I'm going to let you finish closing the show now.
At Five Rings Podcast for more detail on social media. Thanks to Passion Soccer Boutique, your place to go for the love of the beautiful game. Get your Saint Gestel custom-made shoes, amazing products available at passionsoccer.ca, and your place to get some gear as well. You're a fan of Major League Soccer team, you're a fan of the Montreal Impact Supporters Club. There's some 1642 gear available as well in store. Vaudreuil, Laval, Saint Léonard. I'm Kevin Laramee, and as always, until Monday, have a great soccer. You were listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us, sportspodcastingnetwork.com.